right, we'll call this meeting to order 5:01 PM. Item A, Zoom information, check. Item B, roll call. Chair Seth, I am here. Vice Chair Ned Dorr.
Present.
Alder Mark Stoyer.
Here.
John Arndt, not here and not excused. Amy Cox.
Here.
Corey Min.
Present.
Julia Nordyke.
Present.
Krista Kaneman. Not here, not excused, and Mark Walter.
Here.
Alrighty then, move on to item C, approval of the agenda for today's meeting, April 19th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Stoyer, is there a second?
Second.
By Corey, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Alrighty then, approved. On to approval of the minutes from our last meeting on March 8th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Walter, is there a second?
I second.
By Julia, all right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed,
Hey Seth, I was gonna say for discussion, that presentation was attributed to one person, and I think Andy DeMezzo was the other person who presented with New Leaf, so we might want to put his name in there too as part of the minutes.
oh, got it. So you need to make a motion to approve the minute or edit the minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to move to edit the minutes.
All right,
Sure.
there's a motion to edit the minutes. Do we have a, with what you had said, adding, did you get that, Melissa?
The name, spelling.
I'm writing it down. I'll do it all later.
All right, cool. Is there a second for Ned's motion?
Second.
By Stoyer, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, thanks Ned for that. And back to the main motion, approval of the minutes. We had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Motion to approve the minutes.
As amended, okay.
As amended. I'll make that motion.
By Walter, is there a second?
Second.
All right, by Ned, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, cool. Those are approved as amended. On to announcements. Does anybody have any announcements for the group?
I do.
All right,
I do. First announcement is the NOMO May registration opened early last week. So if anyone is curious and wants to participate in NOMO May, they can go to the Public Works webpage and find the registration link under NOMO May. So far, we have 288 registrations. And most people have indicated they're reusing their sign from last year, which is great.
nice.
How many did we have last year? Do you remember?
Last year, we had about 1,200.
Okay.
Secondly,
Can you get a sign? New sign or?
if you have your sign from last year, there's on the registration form, there's a checkbox that says you're gonna reuse your sign. If you need a new sign, then you can come in and get a new sign. So I have some signs here for any commission members that have been, that wanna register and pick up their sign tonight, so you don't have to come back.
Can we register? I have a sign. Can I register here? Or do I have to do it during work hours? Oh, online. I'll do it online. I'll do it online.
Anytime. Secondly, the rain barrel, the purchase of 416 rain barrels was approved by INS and by Common Council last night. So we'll be moving forward with that. So we hopefully will have those near the end of May. And we will do the rain barrel program similar to how it was done last year, through a registration process, first come, first serve. But people that have received rain barrels from the city last year are not eligible to register for one this year.
When does that start? When does that start?
When we
When do you get?
When we have confirmation that, you know, the rain barrels are an estimated delivery date, then we'll open registration. So, and we'll put that on social media like last year. So keep your eyes open on the city's Facebook page. And then lastly, the city was selected to receive 2 grants. One from the Fund for Lake Michigan and the other one from Wisconsin Coastal Management Program. to do flood mitigation study for identifying areas in the East River watershed within the city of Green Bay for flood storage mitigation solutions. So that the RFP needs to be written for that, and then we can hopefully move forward with that in the summer to start that study.
Right.
Total award combined is $126,000.
Excellent.
Those are my announcements.
Cool. And then we've got John in the waiting room.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Other announcements?
Seth, I could make an announcement. There's a joint effort between my school, Aldo Leopold, and the Brown County Parks, and to do a food forest, kind of similar to what we saw last week as a presentation, near the trailhead of the Fox River. And it was just this week presented to the Astor Neighborhood Association, and they have pledged some funds toward it, and so has the Astor East River Neighborhood Association. So pretty exciting, going to be a fun project to do with the kids in the county.
Cool. Exciting, thanks.
Is that near Portlair Pier then, or where is it? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, pretty close to the pier, but across from the sign across the trail, like if you go east across the trail from the sign, in that big lawn area.
Okay.
Great. Other announcements?
I found out this afternoon that I think I'm gonna have an op-ed published in the Green Bay Press Gazette online Saturday about green infrastructure.
Oh,
Oh.
So, check it out.
Nice.
So we can't see it till then, right? Or I mean, is it done already or?
I don't think the newspapers like you to. Cause my Sea Grant wants to publish it too, obviously, so but we have to ask like permission. I mean, I have a document, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think
Someday
it's
we'll
best,
see it.
just, I'll print it off for the next.
Okay.
meeting. Or maybe I can send it to Melissa and she can send it.
It's
out.
in it'll be online, the online edition.
Yeah, the online edition.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
Way
pretty
to go.
What day are they, is that
Saturday.
this Saturday? Okay.
I know.
They don't deliver on Saturdays,
Hmm.
but it'll be online.
I'm glad I updated my subscription yesterday, so I can read it without stealing somebody's password.
That's not on, we didn't take that.
Yeah, right. Cool. Other announcements? Ask me for the password later.
Yeah. I will.
All right, cool. On to presentations. We have Maria Otto here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us to talk about the Conservation Corps. We don't need to open up the floor because it's staff, right?
That is
Cool.
correct.
All right, welcome.
Alright.
And I will, do the share my screen. We can look like we want to be more smooth this time around.
Oh,
Audience members, Ned, what do you see right now?
I can see the presentation.
Okay.
You're missing out. 2 dogs on the screen.
I'm really glad.
Like you done.
And.
There you go.
Do you still see it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so. Corey, do you have any brief introduction for Maria before she gets started?
Well, I think a lot of you have heard me talk about the Conservation Corps in Green Bay Conservation Corps in general throughout the years, kind of the development of the program and all of that. So Maria was brought in as part of our planning grant when we had that. And so Maria worked through the planning and writing the grant to actually implement the program, which we were awarded the funding, thankfully. And so she'll definitely get into more about the details of, you know, the amount of members and the work they're doing and that sort of thing. But I do have to say Maria has been wonderful in helping to develop the program, kind of coming in and working with all of the other departments and things and trying to figure out how the core fits into, what we're already doing. And so, yeah, I think with that, we'll let her take it from here.
Okay, well, thank you, Corey. So yeah, I'm Maria. You guys all know my name, but just want to mention it again. My official title is Conservation Corps Coordinator. A little bit of a mouthful, but the coordinator of this AmeriCorps program. A little bit about us. So like Corey mentioned, and this is a typo that I forgot to tell Melissa that I fixed. But I guess you could say we started in September of 2021. That's when I was hired out for the planning grant, but the actual program started last September, so September of 2022. That's when we got our first members on. We have 6 full-time members and we hit full recruitment right when we wanted to. We wanted the start date to be September 19th. And we had 3 members start on the 19th and 3 members start just a week after. So we count that as hitting that target. So we were really happy that we got the full recruitment, especially with how the hiring and job force is right now, especially with AmeriCorps. It being kind of a unique program to the area. So this program is the only municipally based AmeriCorps program in the state of Wisconsin. And we're only the second AmeriCorps program focused on conservation in the state. So relatively unique program design. And because of that, and because of what AmeriCorps is focused on service and giving back to their community. So the members who join AmeriCorps are just that, they're members. They're not staff or employees. I like to describe it as like a hybrid between a volunteer and a staff person. One of the main things that kind of reflects this is how they're paid. So they don't get paid an hourly wage, they get a set living allowance. So it's a monthly allowance that's distributed twice a month, so bi-weekly, more similar to like a salary, but a relatively low amount. For our full-time members, it's $1,800 a month. For our crew leaders, it's $2,100 a month. So a relatively low paying position, and we're still able to hit full recruitment. One of the biggest draws of this program that helped us get that recruitment was our training aspect and the experience. So we'll get into like everything that we do, but it's a lot of different experience in a very competitive field. So biology, ecology, conservation field is very competitive. There's not a lot of jobs, and a lot of the entry-level jobs are requiring like a year or 2 of experience, even for the entry level. So that is why we got kind of the candidates that we got. And then with AmeriCorps, they also get an education award at the end of their term. So if they serve the set number of hours, which is 1,700 hours for a year, they get an education award of just over $6,000. It's like $6,400 that they can use for past loans or future. We actually have one of our members going back to grad school this summer. So basically this program and the draw and the type of person that we get applying are those who are interested in this field as a career.
So you have questions about this.
Okay, is that okay? Yeah. What is AmeriCorps? I forgot I had this video.
Okay, I would, you
No,
didn't
we
say change
know it
the
now.
line, but I thought maybe
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
So you have questions about AmeriCorps. Well,
It's cheesy, but I love it.
because we're here to help. First off, let's clear up one thing right away. You might be wondering how to say or spell AmeriCorps. Sometimes people pronounce the P, but don't make that same mistake. AmeriCorps is alive and well, just spelled with a silent P. So think of apple core or core of the earth. Now that we have that clear, what exactly is AmeriCorps anyways? AmeriCorps is simply Americans of all ages and backgrounds dedicating their time and skills to get things done. There we go. So how does AmeriCorps get things done? More than 80,000 Americans across the country join AmeriCorps each year, and all of them are tackling different problems in different ways. For example, AmeriCorps members help families attain affordable homes. They mentor students so that they stay in school. Perhaps there's a tornado, a flood, a forest fire, or a hurricane. AmeriCorps members also help communities recover from disasters. There are so many more things that AmeriCorps members do, but if we said it all, we'd be here all day. Why do we call them members, you ask? AmeriCorps members spend anywhere from 3 months to a year dedicating their time and skills to serve. They can volunteer with nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based organizations. And in case you were wondering, there are a few perks AmeriCorps members get, including money to pay for college, student loan deferment, training, living allowance, health benefits, and job opportunities for leading employers. Not too bad, right? All right. What's the purpose of AmeriCorps? Like the military or the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps is a way to serve your country. AmeriCorps members make Americans safer, stronger, and healthier, and they strengthen our communities. But above all, AmeriCorps members get things done. That's it. That's what AmeriCorps is. Learn more about AmeriCorps at AmeriCorps.gov.
Yeah, that's AmeriCorps. And so our program, so Meet the Team, like I mentioned, we hit full recruitment, very happy about that. We've been recruiting for our summer positions already. We have 15 slots open. I've already secured 13 out of the 15, with five interviews just completed last week. So we will probably 99% hit full recruitment for our summer positions as well. We also have people who wanted to join the crew, but didn't have the capacity to hit the hour mark this summer. And so they're joining us as just volunteers without any of those perks, but coming out and getting the experience on a full-time basis. Just to be volunteering and get the experience and be part of the.
So you have questions about AmeriCorps? Well.
I like that.
So to introduce you to our crew, because we're very proud of our first crew, our first year. We have two crew leaders, Francis and Lindsay on the far left. Francis has a college degree in creative writing. He's a published author, and he served on 2 other AmeriCorps programs prior to this. Lindsay has her master's degree in landscape architecture from out in Oregon, and came back here for this program. Taylor, Meg, Jake, and Jared are all our full-time members. Some cool, they're all wonderful people. Jake came all the way from Colorado just for this program. In the span of 2 weeks of getting the position offer, he moved out here, got an apartment, and started all within 2 weeks. He was given, ample time and offered ample time, but he got it done. He was excited to get out here, all within 2 weeks. And then, so they all have college degrees. I want to emphasize that they're all have degrees. All of them, except for Francis and Megan, have degrees specifically in ecology or biology or some sort of natural science degree. Francis, like I said, creative writing, and Meg is business management degrees.
And no degree is required though. To
No
be a
degree,
member, right?
yeah, just a high school GED is all that's required for this program. And so we did get some really great candidates and some really good experienced candidates as well, which helped push this program even farther. Our summer members, I would say about 80% of them are currently in college for a natural science related degree. Most of them are coming from UWGB. I would say we have 7 or 8 members coming out of UWGB. So local members, but then we also have people coming from Colorado State, someone's coming from Texas, and Michigan.
In Utah? Or,
I don't think,
sorry,
she might be from Utah, but goes to Colorado State.
gotcha.
But yeah, so we have people local and from all around. And so what do we do? So we do things, we like to categorize it in kind of 5 different sections. So we do habitat restoration, trail development, native plant establishment, community outreach, and then mapping and surveying. And we'll get into each one individually. So this picture here is our crew planting trees. We planted we planted 100 trees at Colburn Park all within a day with only 2 shovels because we broke one of our shovels. And we had one city forester who showed us properly how to do it. And he was on site for about an hour, and then the crew planted, mulched, and watered all 100 trees in one day with the training in the morning. So some things we do, so habitat restoration, that includes our invasive species removal, our seed collecting, and our garbage cleanup. We typically save the garbage cleanup for when we have volunteer events. So we have different businesses and groups come out and volunteer with us, and so it's just an easy task to have volunteers join with us. Invasive species removal, in those pictures, the far left picture is a before, and right next to it is an after, and that took the crew about 3 hours to accomplish. All of what you see, so that's buckthorn, which is like dark green leaves in the mid-story. That's at Emily on the East River, where there was a trail next to the river, but you didn't know you were next to the river until the buckthorn got removed. And that's just one example. At the Wildlife Sanctuary alone, in this 1 year, the one winter, fall through winter, the crew of 6 removed over 67 acres of buckthorn. So all the buckthorn from when you drive into the sanctuary, all the way to the nature center, all the way down that service road to Dan's, and then out to East Shore Drive is completely buckthorn free. And then obviously we'll need to do follow-up, but the established trees are cut, completed, and removed. The other thing we do.
Did you want to say something about anything else on that slide, or did I go too fast there?
No, that was it. We do seed collect. I should mention that. So this past fall, we seed collected native seeds from city parks, and we collected over 7 pounds of seed of native prairie grass and flower seeds. Which if you know about buying native seed, that's quite a lot of money that they were able to collect. And then we now grow that native seed in our greenhouse, which I'll talk about in a different slide. So trail mulching. So when we had a TikTok, we were very active on TikTok. So the crew is able to mulch trails very efficiently. So they spent just about 2 hours, and they mulched about half a mile of trail with just wheelbarrows and pitchforks. We don't use any machinery. If you want, I downloaded all of our TikToks. They're wonderful. So we have Jared who did most of our TikToks. He also has his drone operator license, and so he gets drone shots and pictures for us quite often, which has been great for our social media side of things. Other things that we'll be doing this coming summer is we'll replace some boardwalks. So this winter they went through and did a big mapping effort of where are all of our boardwalks in the city. And we're talking like as, you know, random as someone threw a piece of board across a wet area to our built boardwalks. We wanted to know where all of the boardwalks are that are on our city trails, just for safety and replacement and improvement aspects. We did a big mapping day with all of that. So we will replace a few boardwalks this summer. And then we schedule time after any flooding or storm event to help keep the trails clean. So the native plant establishment. So like I mentioned, we collected a lot of seed, and so we grow plants in our greenhouse. So the greenhouse is located at the Wildlife Sanctuary, and we started seeds back in late February, early March, and we currently have over 1,000 plants growing in our greenhouse. And those are not just 1,000 pods planted, that is 1,000 plants that are growing at least 2 inches, so that we know that they're gonna like survive and be able to be planted somewhere. We have more small seeds that just started sprouting that are not even included in that number. So once everything does grow, and we'll be able to do 2 rounds this summer of plants, we're looking at anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 plants grown in our greenhouse. We also maintain all of the native plantings and biofilters in the city. So we maintain the ones at Bay Beach, at Perkins, at Colburn, all of the, when the park puts in, you know, the parking lots and everything, they have their rain gardens and biofilters and bioswales, and we go in and maintain them. We actually do also help with the Seymour Edible Garden maintenance side of everything. Making sure things are growing and, looking nice so that we don't get the public as, if we're putting in more native plantings, so it just looks unruly, making sure that we keep them looking nice in our parks, but also being native. And then we'll also be putting in some planting, so we'll be putting in a planting, kind of a rain garden pollinator, nice landscape planting right outside the nature center of the wildlife sanctuary this year. And then also putting in a rain garden at Navarino Park. And then we spread some of the native seeds, so we don't just grow it in the greenhouse, especially like the native grass seed that we collect, like our little blue stem or a big blue stem. We also spread that where we remove a lot of buckthorn or garlic mustard, so that we're not removing all the vegetation from a hillside and just letting it wash away. Trying to plant things in there as well. And then we do a lot of community outreach. So we do volunteer events and educational events, and then we work with the 4K as well. So as far as volunteer events, we've had quite a few. We had one on Make a Difference Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is a national day of service. And then we'll have one this Saturday for Earth Day. Then we're also planning another one in May for just garlic mustard removal. Volunteer Day. We also host volunteer groups just on on their kind of schedule. So just this past Saturday, we had a group of high schoolers from De Pere High School's Key Club come and help us in our greenhouse and volunteer with us. And then education events. We do a series called Discover Your Parks. It's a 4-part series. We had our first part back in January, I believe. Focused on going through and doing a walking tour and kind of history and what's next for the park. Our one that we had in February was at Whitney Park, because Whitney Park was the first Green Bay park. Thought it was fitting to start there. Our next one is actually going to be on World Migratory Bird Day, and we're going to be out at Kenyers, and we're going to do a walking tour. And that one will be a little bit more focused on restoration and birds. Whereas the Whitney one was more focused on history. And then we'll also.
When will that be?
May 13th.
May 13th. They still be where it is.
Yep, they'll still be out there. They finish May 14th or 15th. But we'll be walking along the other wetland impoundment. We're also having our Earth Day event out there as well this Saturday. We were out there today to make sure that we could do that safely.
What do we bring for that? Because I was planning on going out there.
For Earth Day?
Oh, you'll talk later about.
Yeah, Earth Day, just dress for the weather. Wear boots, I would say knee boots, but if you don't have knee boots, you'd be the one more on the dry land, but we'll be cleaning up the shoreline and the edge of the wetland. So, if you just have boots, then you can be the one that's helping us haul all the garbage. The people with the rain boots will be down on the edge, tossing it up to people on dry land. But so we have a lot of events. We also hosted a rain garden event as well, to help homeowners walk through how you create a rain garden. And then our last section here is our mapping and surveying. Like I mentioned, we mapped the boardwalks. We also measure for any native plantings that we'll put in, do some triangulation mapping for Corey. And then we do some survey habitats. So I've been working with Ned. And Ned, I promise I will be sending you that pollinator habitat survey. We're finishing it up this week, but creating a form on Survey 123. So we'll go out to every single city park and check off if there's pollinator habitat. How big is that? What does it look like? And is there potential for pollinator habitat? So we can get a map of where we have habitat and see where our holes are. And then from that, we can see where we have the closest potential. And then we do frog and toad surveys. So we did our first one last week when we had that nice stretch of warm weather. And that was more of a training night for the other members, teaching them on the survey protocols, but we go out at night and survey what frog and toad species are calling and breeding on our parks. And then we'll be doing some pollinator and bee surveys. So that's everything we do, and we do a lot of different things. We're always looking for other, fun activities. So we partner with the 4K quite often. And one of the things that came from the 4K is we're hosting like a planting day with the families and an educational day where next Thursday, the families are gonna come in and we're gonna have a rotating kind of session where we're gonna teach them how to not only plant, but we're also gonna show them how to use toilet paper rolls for little planters or egg cartons, how to plant in milk jugs for milkweed overwintering, giving them tours of our greenhouse. They had just got an aquaponics set up, and they're gonna have somebody come in and teach the kids and the families about that, so we get to be a part of that. We're also a part of Kids Day coming up, so we really like to be at all of the events around the city and make sure we have a presence. We'll also be hosting a roundtable discussion at the Green Bay Conservation Partners Spring Roundtable. We'll be hosting one of the discussions, so. That is kind of the Conservation Corps in a nutshell. What that means for you all is we have volunteer opportunities, summer members pretty much full at this point. But we'll always have more members starting full-time in the fall and then summer ones as well. So next year, we're looking at 8 full-time instead of 6 full-time. We're also looking to add a new position type, a part-time position that would be year-round. So we're looking at 5 slots, just because of the interest we got from high schoolers and also college students, to get them serving with us more than just a summer, but still fit their college schedule. Questions? It was I know it's kind of a lot. But
Well, we saw you at the event at the library and, we're very impressed. I think I'm on council, so I'm very happy that we went along with all of this and it seems like it's going very well.
Yeah, and as far as like the investment side of it, so we are funded by the AmeriCorps grant, and the city has a 24% match for the AmeriCorps grant. We're able to offset that with partnerships with Bear Creek Preservation Foundation and some other in-kind partnerships to reduce that down a little bit. And then some of our plantings, so like our rain garden at Navarino, is an outside grant that is going to be funded. We're still hearing back to get the final approval, but that one was through Brown County United Way neighborhood grants and with partnership with the neighborhood association in Navarino.
So Mike, I have a question about the rain garden at Navarino. Is the stormwater from the shelter going to be feeding the rain garden, or what is the source?
It's kind of just general runoff. It's been an issue, and maybe Corey can talk about it a little bit more, but flooding at that park's been kind of an ongoing issue where just a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, you guys installed the biofilter to help address some of that. But then there's more paving with the loop trail, and it's just kind of a low spot over there, and so just kind of trying to put in some more native vegetation to help address the kind of flooding and the standing water. So when it does flood or after a rain event, over half that park kind of goes underwater.
Well, in the area with the rain garden, there were trees
Yeah.
there that had died off for whatever reason over time, which aren't helping to absorb the water anymore. And a new resident living adjacent to the park. So perhaps it had been wet for years and the previous resident didn't mind. So I think that's partly too, brought to our attention because of that. But yeah, so the north end of the park, we did have engineered and put in that biofilter and stuff too, but then we're seeing on the south end that, yeah, it's problematic in that spot, so. Yeah, the rain garden would be a great amenity for sure.
Normally you don't cite rain gardens or bioretention in like low places that are flooding. It would be more of a constructed wetland. Because like bioretention is supposed to infiltrate into the ground. So you don't put it in places where it's not infiltrating generally.
Yeah, so it only floods in the spring when the ground's still frozen. And so And it's not like it's pooling in really one area, it's just kind of the water's sitting right there. And this rain garden we use as more of a common term and not a technical term for the planting that we're putting in there. It's really, we're putting in trees, shrubs, and native plantings to help address the water and then also create habitat, and it's in an area of the park that's not used right now. And so it's not like an engineered to spec to manage a certain volume of stormwater management by any means. It's more the habitat, native planting, and to hopefully help with some of that water retention.
Right, and
we just say rain garden because
but
it's a
understanding it's
mouthful.
not
If-
necessarily gonna make all the water go away all the time.
Are you planting plants that are water loving plants?
Yeah,
Yes.
because
You know, they can
your trees,
tolerate.
your trees die.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so
I
you
think,
wanna put in, yeah.
I think that was, I don't think it was necessarily because of the standing water. on
And
that
two of the
site.
trees were evergreens that were causing sightline issues that were cut down. So it wasn't because of the water or because they died, it was because whoever cut them down didn't want them in our park, more so.
Melissa, I was gonna ask with the city, is there, or Maria? I was I gonna ask? In a second here. Continue, I'll get it in a second, sorry.
Yeah. I don't have any more questions.
Oh, okay, I got it. So, with the neighborhoods and, city neighborhoods, do they apply for maybe sub grants for different projects? Have they done that with,
They haven't
Conservation Corps?
They haven't done that with us yet, but they have, so they, like Navarino, when we were applying for this grant, they partnered with us and wrote us a letter of support. And wanted to be listed as a partner on the project. So when we're doing a project like that, or seeking outside funding for a specific project, we do reach out to the neighborhood associations. I presented when this was getting started and a little bit more of a concept to their annual to all the neighborhood associations. And I've also reached out to every single neighborhood association and had sit down meetings or attended some of their annual meetings with probably half of them so far. So they are aware of this new program. Or at least have been attempted to be aware of the program. But yeah, so none of them they have reached out with concerns or ideas that they'd like to see in their area, but none of them have come forward with, we have this funding, can we partner with you? It's more so, hey, we have this problem, can you fix it?
Oh, man. Okay.
So before the Conservation Corps was established, we did work more recently with the Wilder Neighborhood Association, who was interested in adding native plants, and so we did do that. It wasn't within that program, but just through the Parks Department. Unfortunately, somehow none of the plants made it through the winter and nobody knew what happened. So it was a really weird situation. But there was interest there. And so I do think there could be continued interest from folks, especially if you're going out and, talking with them about it, so.
Yeah, a lot of the thing that holds us back the most is funding for the supplies for us. So we have funding for our personnel, and certain equipment pieces, but like plant material and like seed material, is where we're limited, and we have to basically plan very detailed, like to the square foot, a year and a half before the actual like growing. So like I submitted back in March our grant for next year. So for like next summer, knowing the exact spot, location, and square footage of a planting is a little difficult that far in advance. So we do budget for a little bit, but 90% of our budget goes to materials and personnel. So whenever we are asked to do a project, we have the manpower and the time, we just don't always have the funding for the actual plant material or the tree material. And so if we get partnerships that fund that, we can have a pretty big workforce to get it done and then maintain it.
Great.
And maybe too, it's just worth touching on, the length of the current approval for the grant, or,
Yeah, so they do it on like. It's kind of weird, because they call it a 3-year grant, but you reapply every year. But the reapplying is more so, yeah. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
have a 3-year grant, but I still need to submit grant applications every year, but really that is just. The big grant every 3 years is like the whole direction and the whole scope of the program. And then on an annual basis, it's more that annual budget, so I don't budget for a 3-year budget, I budget for a 1-year budget. And then I write any like slight edits to the narrative, so it's a very reduced version every year, but yeah, it's a 3-year grant cycle. For AmeriCorps
Where does AmeriCorps draw its whole fund?
federal. So the whole name is AmeriCorps, the federal agency, so they get all of their funding directly from the federal government. They're an entire agency in and of themselves.
They're not under like.
Like, do you?
Department of
I don't
Administration.
know what department they're under. Actually, they're under the National Service Office, Office of, what is it called?
Department of Interior. No, that's
Although most of them are education, aren't they?
Department of Interior.
No, but AmeriCorps in general. Like this is what, I'm sorry if I missed this at the beginning, but this program is like one of how many in the country?
In the country, there's probably, like, in the state of Wisconsin, there's 28 AmeriCorps programs.
No,
And
the
so-
Conservation Corps.
two
In the
in
state,
Wisconsin.
Oh, two in
Yes.
Wisconsin. Cool.
yeah, so there's WisCorps and then us, WisCorps is based out of La Crosse.
And WisCorps is different in that they go out to other communities, like you can hire them as a crew to come do work on your site, where right now our program is set up to work only within our city parks and greenways and things. So there are different ways you can do that. You know, Maria's talked about maybe at some point we could expand out too. So we could perhaps at some point move beyond Green Bay, you know, to, that'd be great.
Every AmeriCorps program is different based on their host agency. What they focus on in their design and their setup. But all AmeriCorps programs are required to follow the Code of Federal Regulations as it relates to AmeriCorps. So all the policies, procedures, things of that nature, we have to follow AmeriCorps for, but everything else we have, choice.
Sorry.
What'd you find?
Inclusive.
So under,
Independent agency.
what is
It
it?
looks like.
That
It
was like
looks like it's the
yesterday.
Department of Labor
Oh,
Office of Disability and.
Well, it says that, actually, it said that Department of Labor Office of Disability and AmeriCorps. provide
Yeah.
Guidance, so it
So-
actually, by the looks of it, AmeriCorps is actually a federal
It's,
standalone agency.
Just like
it is
that.
because the name is AmeriCorps, the federal agency.
Wow.
Is the name of AmeriCorps.
So you say that when you walk into a room, the federal agency. Just sounds so.
Yeah.
AmeriCorps just rebranded, like 2-3 years ago, they just rebranded. They used to be the Corporation for National Community Service, CNCS. Was their corporation for whatever, but then that was synonymous with AmeriCorps, because AmeriCorps was like the only program that it did, and so that then it got confusing, because then you have AmeriCorps Seniors, you have AmeriCorps Vista, you have AmeriCorps NCCC, you have AmeriCorps State, and you have AmeriCorps National, we're a state program. So that you have all these branches, and so then they rebranded and said, we don't need CNCS, we're just gonna call it AmeriCorps, the federal agency, just to be more
What's this?
direct and easy to follow.
Right, because you work with Serve Wisconsin,
Mhm.
then as the kind of in between.
Yeah, they're a state agency that we
Okay.
report to, and they're under DOA. Serve Wisconsin is for the Wisconsin state. So each state sets up their state commission, and it can either be through their state government or through a nonprofit. Wisconsin does it through government, so we have Serve Wisconsin through DOA.
So I'm just gonna ask, moving forward, Maria, I mean, let's say if there are directives, you know, we get all sorts of information at the city. you know, meetings, committees, all that kind of stuff. Is there anything above and beyond that we can do locally to keep going with you, or is it tied in with the federal government and we just kind of piggyback on whatever? Is there any?
So the federal government only directs how I spend the grant money. And how the members are referred to, basically like pay and the education where and stuff. The actual activities that we do is decided 100% by the city of Green Bay.
Okay.
So the goals, the initiatives, and the priorities are set by the city of Green Bay, as long as our like staffing personnel, like member structure stays in the AmeriCorps realm. There are certain things that we can't do, so we can't lobby, we can't do any religious affiliations. So AmeriCorps is bipartisan, and they're very, very like, we are bipartisan. Which gives them a lot of support, and so because of that, AmeriCorps programs, there are like 10 things that are called prohibited activities, and one of them is like setting up voter registration drives and doing some of these things. So those are the things we can't do. We can't fundraise for general operating costs for the city. We can fundraise for specific projects or equipment or things like that.
So right now, would you say a majority is working with parks right now? I mean, generally? I mean, are there other departments that you could work with, or would you say, Corey, it's pretty much to you right now?
So right now we are, I would say 95% through parks. We work with Public Works on occasion. And there is potential, and we kind of started the conversation and then stopped the conversation about whether the Conservation Corps would take on the maintenance of stormwater management ponds. Right now DPW contracts that a lot of that maintenance work out. And generally the consensus was we'll just keep it as they contract that maintenance work out. As of right now, the crew, that would take up the entire time.
There's 26 ponds,
Yeah,
so that would be,
a full
you
time.
would need like a whole nother crew.
Mhm. Yeah, so it just wasn't plausible, and then we didn't wanna get into, oh, we'll do this one, but not this one, and this one, but not that one. So there is potential if the program grows that we could start doing that more in-house instead of like contracting it out, but right now contracting it out is the most efficient way for the city.
Right, but I'm just saying, bottom line is costs, you know, and, you know, we're always looking for ways to either increase revenues or
Mhm.
deal with costs, so if
Yeah.
that would be something that could piggyback into the city some way.
The
At budget
thing with
time,
contracting too is they just have the specialized equipment as well, so like we go in with hand tools. Which isn't the most
Right.
efficient way.
Yeah.
But if we grow the program and we start working towards that, it could. Cause right now it's not competitive with contracting it out for the maintenance, but as the program grows, it could become more competitive. And we could switch, but that we're talking years down the road for the program to grow.
no, this is the 3-year commitment right now? Is
Right
it?
now, yep, and AmeriCorps, generally, once you start an AmeriCorps program, you have the AmeriCorps program, so like, once you have funding, you're prioritized to keep doing funding, because it's so difficult to start up an AmeriCorps program. Because there's so much that goes into it, that's why AmeriCorps offers a year-long grant to fund one person to, their sole job is planning to apply for this grant. And so AmeriCorps invests in creating their programs, and so it's just easier for them to continue to fund them. And right now, we're not at any risk of losing any funding. So AmeriCorps right now, so the state is creating new AmeriCorps programs, and they only create new AmeriCorps programs if they can fund all of their current programs, as long as those current programs remain within compliance. So as long as we're staying within compliance and we're getting things done, they're gonna continue to fund us. As the program extends, the city's match increases. So right now we're at 24% match. Year 4, we're at 24% match, or yeah, 25% match, and it goes up a percentage every year until you hit your 10-year mark, and then you're at a 50-50.
So you feel confident that this could continue on in the city for some time?
Just a couple weeks ago, we had AmeriCorps week, and we went down to the state capitol, and the director of AmeriCorps was there and was talking to like all the state programs in the Capitol and gave a presentation, and she personally called out the Green Bay Conservation Corps. Then we had 2 other senators give presentations that they directly called us out to.
Nice.
What we're doing is quite unique, and the Serve Wisconsin really likes to like boast about it. If you think just nationally, there are only maybe a dozen municipally based AmeriCorps programs in the entire United States.
For conservation.
No, for all,
For all,
for all.
and this is
And
the
the
only one in
reason-
Wisconsin right
Yeah,
now?
it's the only one in Wisconsin. The reason is federal government has very detailed regulations and policies. City government has very detailed, and so getting those to mesh, was a process, but we're here now and we're able to work through that. But that time investment to do it, and the fact that, you know, we did have to change some things, and you have to be open to changing a little bit to make room for an AmeriCorps program, which a lot of times, you know, city governments, they're doing it a certain way, and that's the way that they're gonna do it, and to change takes time and money, and just being confident that you can do it and it's gonna be successful.
So you said you have to do you basically do a fairly straightforward annual grant
Mhm.
application. And then every 3 years, you're gonna have to do a full
Yeah,
blown, is that gonna be as onerous the next 3-year time as it was the first one, or can you use?
it's gonna be better.
Is there a lot that's just gonna roll forward?
It's gonna go forward, yeah, we can reuse a lot of it, it's really just, so AmeriCorps is very research and database, so we have to keep like really detailed records, so like. We have Garmin GPS units on the crew at all times when they're out walking around, and it tracks exactly where they are, and then from that, we can get it into GIS and get an exact measurement of how many miles of trail and how many acres that they were actually treating. So we keep records of all of that. Check out our story map because we also have that all public.
Does that go over to UWGB then for mapping, or, you know, let's say, you're taking the GIS data and producing it?
So right now Lindsay does most of that. So like I said, she has her masters and she actually taught GIS throughout her masters.
Okay.
So she does our story maps, our GIS, our survey 1, 2, 3 forms. She is our GIS master. She also works with Brennan quite often, in the city, our GIS guy in the city. To make sure that, so like, we save all of our files in the city's GIS like folder. So everybody has access to it from a city side. And then we publish our story map, which is public, which is more of a user-friendly mapping system that people can see where we've been and what we've done.
Cool. Any other questions for Maria? Well, thank you so much for all the great work and the presentation tonight.
Yeah,
Really great.
Thank you.
We already had 3 of our summer members start, so they're with the crew full time right now. So we have 9 members full time. So getting a lot done.
Nice. Well, we'll see you Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't have big boots, but I'll.
What size shoes do you wear? I have some knee boots at work.
10.5. You have some more, you know, deeper.
The waiters.
Light waders.
Your knee waders.
Maybe, we can talk.
Cool. All right. Well, moving on then. Thank you again to we have no regular business, so we'll move on to informational. First update we have is climate resilience and adaptation. Julia, is that you?
Yeah, that's
Alright,
me.
take it
Thank
away.
you.
Yep.
I love the new system. It like forces me to get my updates
Right, yeah.
together, myself together. So I'm very proud of myself. I thought, actually I think it was just last week, John and I were at Bay Beach, with the Leadership Green Bay to give presentations, and I've mentioned this months and months and months, or probably a year ago or more, but we have a student at UW-Madison, a graduate student assistant who's helping do climate work with me and my colleague Adam Beckley, who's a coastal processes engineer. And so his name is Behe, and he's been looking at basically number 1, which is outline local climate changes, projections, and impacts. So this is related to my work plan from 2022. So, we gave that presentation for the first time at Leadership Green Bay, and and I'm planning on putting it on the agenda for next month. For him to zoom in and give that presentation with I'll probably, yeah, so, so that is actually really coming along, looking at temperature, coastal flooding, riverine flooding, stuff like that, so. And then the next thing we will be doing, I think next steps really is looking at, so some updates on like mapping related to identifying social, economic, and environmental risks. Sea Grant also has a fellow named Jackson Parr, who has a grant with the Bay Lake Regional Planning Commission to work with coastal municipalities, and including Green Bay. And he's been doing a social vulnerability analysis with GIS, and then a full on like vulnerability analysis report too. So he does have that for Green Bay already. And he'll be doing that for the East River. So, and if people aren't aware, social vulnerability analysis is like index is from the CDC, and really what social vulnerability is basically there's a lot of external stresses on people, and which makes them more vulnerable to climate hazards like flooding. So this index tracks like 16 different census variables, including like poverty, access to transportation, socioeconomic status, household composition, minority status, English proficiency, and things like that. So we're gonna have some good maps. Normally it's done at the census block, but he's brought it down to the next level, the block level of census block. I don't think I'm saying that right.
Goes
but-
block group, then block is the lowest level. Census block is the smallest enumeration for a census, and then it goes up to block group, then it goes to track.
I think it's block group. Well, they
So
couldn't
what-
do block because it would be too identifiable.
Right, so block group. no.
But that's better than what like the national map viewer has right now. So it's giving better resolution. So that is coming, and then also, we have done, it's for the East River, but we've done some HAZAS, which is FEMA, which is the economic analysis, for economic damages. And that GIS, that information is actually, available. We just got that. And then, yeah, and then eventually I don't really have a good update about areas number C, I guess we're not quite there yet. So that's coming along, and hopefully I've been talking about this presentation coming up, so we'll do it. So, yeah. So don't schedule another educational presentation. We'll take care of that one next time. Okay. Another. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Another update is that through the East River Collaborative Project, Alloway, we helped Alloway get a Wisconsin Coastal Management Grant for the East River Recreational Trail Project. It includes the city of Green Bay, Alloway, Ledgeview, and Bellevue. I don't think that was in quite order, but as the trail goes on.
Close enough.
And De Pere. Here's the, I
Yes.
was kind of forgetting about De Pere. So on the East River. So it includes all those municipalities, and the funding will be developing a master plan to identify flood solutions for parts of the trail that are underwater because of high lake levels or riverine flooding. And then also identify places that you can implement like habitat and better access, and then coordinate with the East River Water Trail that's being developed through the county. So that's pretty cool too. Do you have any questions on that?
It's awesome.
That's
Oh, really?
that's a great one. It's one of the reasons that I think it's so great is because it's like one of the first projects that's multi-municipality. So it's like these 5 municipalities going to work together. So pretty cool. Okay, and then my last update is about Brown County Highway Drainage Improvement Projects. And so where should I start with this? So I put some materials in the packet. So if you can refer to those start on page, I guess it starts on page 19. I think put them the other way. This is near where I live. So this is mainly why I know about them. Basically. Nicolay Drive is a county highway, and over the last. Some 4 years, it's had flooding issues. And then, but it's a county highway, and so through public funds. The county has been taking care of these they call them drainage improvement projects. And I mean, it sounds good that they're helping. Residents not be flooded anymore. That's definitely good. However, these are major infrastructure projects, and the current one was brought to my attention just recently by 2 affected residents who are and it really when I started understanding the project more, it really reminded me of the one that's on page 21, which is the Eagle's Nest. So this is diverting water from, it was Beach Lane flooding issues.
Oh, yeah.
But it's what you're looking at, going up the creek it's actually a creek that they channelized and put riprap down. And then you look on the other picture below, and it's the channelized creek straight to the bay. I just took these pictures a week or so ago. During one of our runoff events. And so also a very large, expensive infrastructure project. I was pretty disappointed. This is also part of, a brand new, what's going to be a coastal park. And so the project that was brought forth to me over the last couple of weeks was very similar, in my mind, very similar to this. And so you can see now that they're moving forward with another drainage project, and which is on page 20, and they're proposing a very, very large ditch. I'm really bad at distance. I think it seems like it's huge, like 20-30 feet, at least 30 feet, I don't know. And then some really major pipes, and then also putting a new 5-foot pipe in from an ag field straight to the bay. So it's cutting down on people's properties, a lot of mature trees. There's one tree, that maple, that's over 110 years old. On the Sisters St. Francis property, you can see that property be quite affected, and there's older trees on that property too, in general. So I guess from a sustainability perspective, the city, we do contribute to these projects. Financially, these are very large, expensive infrastructure projects, which, and they're land use projects, and they're going to be there for decades. And they're just really not helping, they're kind of like the opposite of infrastructure projects that the city and many, many other people have been trying to actually improve types of infrastructure. And so I just have some very, very, it's just, sustainability issues with these projects. I'm definitely obviously in support of trying to fix flooding. It's just the implementation of projects that are making other things worse.
Julie, I was gonna ask, so I know we talked about this at council and that, and the issues and that, but it's a county highway as well, so the county's involved, the city's involved, and who else is involved in the project, trying to get to the end point?
From what I understand, mostly, I'm sure you were prepped to, maybe, I don't know, but from what I understand, it's, I have always gotten, because also the Eagle's Nest is on a park property, a county park also, but the answer I've always got is, it's the county DOT, and then so they have the authority, and no one else apparently has any authority. So, but I mean, the city of Green Bay does own the stormwater infrastructure that's going in and is responsible for maintaining it. And we put in money to do it. So it's hard for me to understand really the
breakup of the costs would be interesting to see.
Well,
I know it's out there, right?
Well, for this project, I think the city's putting in half, which is approximately $750,000 project. The city's putting in half, and same with the Eagle's Nest was that. But like that, the Eagle's Nest, I mean, when I started looking at it back again, I mean, it's like literally straightening the creek. Like, and channelizing it, which is like infrastructure from the 70s. That's like what you're trying to take out in other places. So I just am concerned with the overall sustainability of that. These projects, because they're so long term.
It's a temporary fix, you think? I mean, it's a.
Well, once it goes in, I just think
That's it.
that's
Wow.
it for decades. You know, and then it's significant land use changes that I don't think are like going towards any of the goals the city has set for water quality, habitat. And that's just the city. I mean, I could give a 2-hour presentation
Yeah.
on the other people working on water quality. In this area particularly, there was just a watershed plan approved like last year for trying to manage the water coming off the karst and down
Mhm.
through these ag fields.
And they're not utilizing that right now? Or they're-
There's no,
It's
it's
not.
it's a complex topic,
Okay,
and it's
alright.
like you're getting into things that aren't regulated, so ag runoff isn't regulated, so in the same ways that we have like our stormwater permit for.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's just complicated, so it needs a watershed approach, and
Mm.
this is like a, I don't know. So
Well-
I don't know, I just think as a city, we should be thinking more about. This is, and it's in the city, it's affecting residents, so.
Okay.
So, and there is a member from the public here to just make some comments about that project specifically. Yeah, so.
Make a motion.
That's why I'm in the back.
Hold on a second. We'll make
So
a
I-
motion to open the floor.
You.
Yeah,
you
make a
did
motion.
second.
First, second, so motion to open the floor, or motion on the second, all those in favor say aye.
Alright.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, the floor is open.
You can come up here. We're not, we don't bite.
Or, second row,
Yeah. I mean, I can. we can-
See, you know,
yeah, it's your choice.
never volunteered.
Yeah.
I got volunteered.
Can you give
Yeah,
your
get
name
up.
and
You need to state your name and your address.
name and address?
I am Don Caldwell, and I am at 3154 Nicolay Drive.
So you're
Right
right south
there.
side,
Yeah, east side.
on the east side.
Yeah,
Or I
that,
see it's.
that map
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, north.
north is to the right.
Right.
And, I
Okay.
think what Julia was saying, okay, it is I don't know, a major impact on the area, on the whole. The amount of trees they're cutting down is unbelievable, and it's just kind of creating a ditch wasteland. And she was talking about the 110-year-old maple tree. It is 120 inches or, well, 10 feet in circumference. Okay, and there's other trees too. There's ash trees that we've been treating, for the ash beetle and things like that. What I think what we're just trying to say is that it's like they got one idea on the road, people, and it's make a ditch. And their statement is it all flows down there anyway. But I know with your water gardens and the biofilters and all these things, that's probably not a good idea for sustainability. So I just am supporting Julia. What she has to say is that if you contribute money, then you own some of the responsibility to oversee these things. And, I don't want to lecture that, but it's just kind of a natural thing. So I don't know how you would do that, or whatever.
I'll just add, the second resident that contacted me lives down at 3119.
Where they're creating a new
So.
60-inch pipe.
That family has,
Huh?
60 inches?
it's 60 inches, and so they contacted me, they have 2 young children. Very concerned about,
See,
so they're putting in a new pipe on private property uphill. And which is right, and then behind their house is an ag field, so it's directly like a new 60-inch pipe down to the bay from there.
So that's.
They
this is
did, the
all-
county is, the county is gonna move that pipe from their property over to the other side of 3125 now. So, because they called, but, but that's a pretty big concern, because it's just like a direct conduit, then you're just adding a new giant pipe and a direct conduit of
So the
ag.
pipe is enclosed, correct? It's a pipe.
It's a 5-foot pipe.
Yeah.
It's a, yeah.
It's
big.
Culvert,
Yeah,
concrete culvert.
One of,
That's okay.
yeah, you
Have
can
it
look
on
at,
the screen.
yeah, maybe describe
oh,
it.
there you go.
Yeah,
One pages.
it could go up there if you want.
I think you would, Julia is also saying about ditches, they gather pollutants, leaves. You know, papers, cans,
there's a lot of
all this
trash.
kind of things, trash. And they're great thoroughfares for putting stuff directly into the bay. Okay, and I would like to see alternatives to the solution. There is a storm pipe in there presently. What the consultants have said is it's too small to handle like 100-year storm. Okay, and so, you know, but also another thing with the present pipes and in there are birds cage inlets over the top, which just get filled with stuff. And so the inlets don't work too well to create outlets.
And let me just say one more last thing, because when I put this on the agenda, Steve Grenier chimed in also, just to reiterate that we don't have any decision-making or voting power here. And there is a Brown County commission meeting to, that to go to, but I'm bringing it as a just general,
Information.
and we are advisory.
Yeah, something to think about.
Or I,
Oh, well, I know some of this has been done, but we're not completely finished with it yet, but everything's in the works, so it's kind of like, how do you turn it back, or, what other alternatives might there be?
That's the question you should ask. What other
Yeah.
alternatives?
So is
And-
it the engineering, sorry, that's just been done so far, or has construction started?
I
No,
thought-
that's in August,
Okay,
is when they expect that to happen.
What committee did this go through on the city end?
This
Boy,
was a
matching funds?
ARPA.
project,
yeah,
so it went through council, probably went through finance. I'm
Probably
guessing,
finance.
or potentially INS, and then to finance, and then to council. My, I guess, recommendation or question is, with the county, there's public meetings there. I don't know if there was any time for public comment before this. This seems a little late in the process.
This plan was introduced or shown to the public at a public meeting on April 6th.
Oh,
so this year,
really?
first time,
Yeah, and so it's all, and you're gonna do it in August, so the response time is very difficult to handle.
Mhm.
All right, and it's like, okay, well, that meeting's in late May, and then one in late June, and then we're done.
Yeah,
I would
this-
also
Okay.
think that you could work through your county
Yeah, this would be.
supervisor
The supervisor, and well, we've
and
contacted,
your
that
alder.
Antonov,
we call, what's her name, Jennifer Grant.
Jennifer.
Well, that's your alder, but
That's
you're
the
on
alder.
the supervisor.
The supervisor is Ron.
Ron Antonov,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, he lives right
Yeah,
outside.
so this will come before the county's planning development transportation committee, which meets on Tuesday night.
Yeah,
They
this
haven't
is,
already looked at.
this is all in
It's all our
agenda packet, so it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So they're.
I'm not saying that
Sure.
there aren't, nice road bumps to deal with the highway
Well-
department to keep going, but, and there are, and we have to do those kind of things. I think the thing is that I know you're advisory and concerned about sustainability. These projects are designed with no sustainability in mind. Okay,
It's just trying to solve the problem of
one thing.
water, of rushing
Yeah.
and that. And how many years has it been like this for you? I mean,
There was a major flood in 2019. I wouldn't call it major. It affected the houses which were 20 feet below the roadway, down by the
mhm. Have you had
Okay.
damage at all on your property?
I have damage from the ag fields in the back, but we, you know, we said, well, it's our property, we gotta solve the problem. All right, and so what we dug is significant French drains around the property. And put it out into a biofilter. Okay. But I guess what I'm saying is cutting down trees, destroying foliage and wind blocks and property values and things like that is not a sustainable solution.
Does it seem like that they think the trees need to come out so it's open so that the things.
So they can
flow?
build a ditch.
Right. Well, I guess.
Trees in the way of the ditch. Okay. The trees aren't in the way of the pipe that's in there right now. There's area that enlarge the pipe. That's present.
One thought that I have that perhaps if nothing changes with the design, that perhaps future planning could help with your concerns, whereas like maybe there could be some discussion and movement towards getting biofilters installed on the egg field.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a systemic problem. And they're doing one little tactical solution. Paul, what's his name? Who's had a
And techie.
Fontecchio, thank you, I can't pronounce that.
Well, that's.
Yeah, Paul is on vacation now, and I feel Paul is probably open to change, okay? And modification of plans, okay? I think it just that there was no feedback until April 6th, and then all of a sudden feedback
Yeah,
occurred.
So it'll get voted on in May at the county committee.
I think it's already voted on.
It is
I mean, all the money and funding and it's in their hands, and whatever they decide to do is what they're going to do.
Does anybody know if there's like an awarded contract yet for the work?
No, I saw no bids being put out
Okay.
at all. I don't think they finalized the plan. I think there has been some feedback and they've gone to a consultant to revise the plan. But anyway,
so, I mean, as things are in place, I mean, I don't know. What it would take for us now as an advisory committee to get involved in at this stage, you know, if there's something that we can say, hey, maybe we could tweak it a little differently or whatever.
I think awareness and somehow that all these infrastructure changes are going on. Okay, and you may not be aware of them. Okay, they come at a very high level and say, we need money. Because some sort of oversight after the money's granted needs to be in order for sustainability to occur.
And you have a couple of different groups working on this, in the county
Well,
and.
yeah, and one of the problems that it's becoming apparent here is that this is ARPA funding, American.
Well, it's not real money then, is it?
Well, it's,
Well,
yeah,
It's free money.
it's money that the county didn't well, so the city got some, the county, every unit of government got, some,
Yeah.
the state got some, the federal government. I've been awarded a whole lot of this money for a big project we're working on for the county. But ARPA monies don't follow the normal, haven't followed the normal track where when you go through a budget process at the county, for example, I work for the county.
Yeah.
So when you go through the budget process, there are starts with the department, goes through the oversight committee, goes through administration, goes through here, goes through here, goes through here, and you have to justify it throughout the whole process. ARPA is short track, very much so, because it has to be spent by the end of next year. So.
Yeah,
that's
I would
part
say
of
the Eagle's Nest was not ARPA.
Eagles Nest was not, but. No,
Yeah.
Like, that's actually. environmental.
Schools. Schools.
Eagles Nest has been, in the work for a long time, yeah, that's actually. Matt Creasy, the Parks, has been working on that. As opposed to-
Anyway, that was just my 2
Yeah.
cents.
Well, we
Okay,
appreciate it.
I'm going
We
to,
appreciate it.
I will continue to pursue with Paul and other people and
I know.
the other
Paul, too.
boards.
I could talk to him too.
Boy, I super appreciate that. I can't you know, when you start getting involved in this stuff, it's like. With path, with committee, when time, you know, it's daunting. Okay. Now,
Is there any, like, I mean, for our commission, I'm just curious, because we've been doing a lot of educational presentations, but we are advisory, so thinking like, more like what you're, like, maybe longer term. Or maybe in future planning scenarios, like, where do we advise things? Because
I give every civil engineer a seminar on sustainability.
So obviously, like, I'm very into green infrastructure and infrastructure just in general, I mean, but it does last decades. So once it's in for decades, so.
And the tree is gone, it's not gonna be back for 100 years.
No, it is gone.
It's already.
No.
Well, I mean,
no,
even,
No, it's, if they do this
Yeah.
plan, it'll be gone.
I mean, even with the city, I mean, remember when we first started this green infrastructures, you know, GI, you know, and oh my God, it's green, but you know, when you said GSI, you know. The council got a better grip on it, so it's just educational, being aware of what it really is. So that's an issue too.
Thank you
Oh.
for listening.
Thank you
If
so
you,
much.
you're coming, though. I thought I had a card in me, I'll give you my name and number.
No, just say it. It's great.
Well, motion to close. the
Well,
floor.
we do have another person.
Or do we have somebody else?
Nearby, at that property.
Let me
I don't
give
know,
you-
sister, if
let me
you're,
look like that.
while the floor is open, if you wanted to chime in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a.
Yeah,
Oh, you're on mute. Just as luck would have it, this is in your neck of the woods or unlocked.
There you go.
Would you like to speak to this while the floor is open, since this is along your property as well?
Our driveway is further to the south. So this here property that is showing on this, it's on the other side of Dan Nielsen's place. I really don't know anything about it. I know that our maintenance person did go, our facilities manager went to a hearing, and I didn't hear anything about what was said or what he learned. It's new to me that they're taking trees out along our property line there. Well, the whole thing is kind of new to me. I just know that the culvert in front of our road it's obstructed because the ditch is so shallow. But it looks like that's not a part of this here plan at all either. I don't know. But I concur very much with the whole thought about that Eagle's Nest and that runway that they put where the water will just rush all the way right down and empty right into the bay. There's no mitigation or stopping of it all the way along. It's pretty sad.
Thank you, and I was supposed to ask you your name and address before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Sister Sally Ann Brickner from the Sisters of St. Francis of the Holy Cross.
Thank you, and yeah, thanks for speaking to that as well. Do you want to say anything before we close the floor?
I was gonna say I can go over, they're right next door. I can go over and
Yeah.
speak with her very soon. If that's
Good.
favorable to you.
Let's see, I'm glad that connected. All right, well, thank you both, and best of luck on this. Hopefully it's not.
Thanks.
too late
As I
to do some
said,
good
thanks
things.
for listening. That helps.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, we'll entertain a motion to close the floor then.
motion to close the floor.
Sawyer, is there a second?
Second.
Cool. By Julia, all right, all those in favor of closing the floor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, okay. All right, floor closed. Do we have further discussion on this item?
Nope.
Great, thank you for bringing this forward.
I guess I'd like to know what the city has committed to, if it's a joint effort So maybe that's something Mark could find for us,
Yeah,
or,
we'll check more into this. I know we talked about this at length that, months ago, but,
Are you talking about financially?
yeah, financially.
It's half of the
About
budget.
half.
It's half of the budget, and the budget's, I think, around $750,000.
You want more specifics as far as, well, anyway, go ahead, Ned.
if it's something that we can revisit as a city, if we already voted on it, I don't know. Is there a way to go back and pull that item and revisit, or does the city commit any staff to this project? On top of the money, is our DPW involved? Like, if there are some major concerns, I think we as a city can bring that to the county.
I guess
Well,
what I'll do is I'll do some phone calling in the next day or two and get as much information as I can get. We may be over the top or finished on some of it, but there may be some possibilities. So I'll check and see where we're at with it, Ned, and as soon as I find out, and I'll work with Melissa on that as well, right? And we'll just get the information out as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions or comments on this item?
I guess one comment that I should make or
Yeah.
would like to make is, not all of our city projects are sustainable. Of course, we try to keep that in mind, at least I know I do in our planning. But I know that not necessarily every city project is sustainable. So I just wanted to point that out. It'd be great if we could somehow work towards it, in every project.
Understandable, Corey. I've spent most of my career arguing with engineers about things, so.
Sure.
I would say, I mean, there are better ways to do things than others. And these are two just projects near and dear to my heart, because I live near them. I just see them all the time, and they're just the opposite. Like they're not even, they're just, yeah. Switching out one problem for a lot more other ones.
Mhm.
Is there, in a perfect world, I mean, is there some way that you could see initially dealing with something like this? I mean,
It's understanding the topography of over there.
Yeah.
It would really take a better, you need a little bit understanding of the watershed in general. The water is really sheeting off the agricultural fields behind those, and then it drops down into the ditch, basically. But I have seen in other places where they've done amazing, like recreational assets, stormwater parks, where they've built large stormwater basins and they have trails around them, and they meet their water quality permit with these kind of projects also. So there's different, like, in my mind, there's always gonna be a more creative solution.
Right.
If we're paying, I feel like nowadays with infrastructure, we should be getting as many benefits as we can out of it. Because it's very expensive, and so why not have it meet flooding, water quality, and habitat and recreation, and make it a community asset rather than just a underground pipe or ditch.
So part of it, maybe a little knee-jerk reaction and something like this, or
So what?
knee-jerk, was this little knee-jerk in your estimation? From the,
Oh, I just think it was
well, anyway, you don't have to say that.
yeah,
That's fine.
I
I'm
already said,
digging.
I really just don't think it's a sustainably planned or designed project.
All right, that's good.
It will, adding another 5-foot pipe to the bay there's already one right there. There is already one there, and they're trying to add another one. And it's to solve a private property's own issue to it, so.
That's good.
All right, thanks again for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
On to the final informational update here, marketing and communication. Do we have an update from that work group?
Yeah. You wanna go? Should I
Do
go?
I wanna go?
I can go.
Why don't you start it, because I gotta get over to it.
Okay, let's see. All right, so we've met a couple of times. several times now, I guess, as a new group. Still trying to get things figured out as how we're, you know, kind of what our goals are, I guess, other than we really know we want to kind of be the hub of all things sustainable for Green Bay. So people who want to learn about sustainability can come through us, right? So that being said, we had our Sustainability Commission Facebook page that was, I think we've talked about that before in this group, but in case we haven't, that Facebook page was being managed as a government page, and it wasn't set up the right way for how we needed it to be. And so what we're gonna do is create a Friends of the Sustainability Commission Facebook page instead. And I know Julie is interested in managing it, and I haven't spoke to Ned, but I believe he is too, and I think you have spoke with him about it, in managing that Friends page. And so that's gonna be where we're gonna be doing our social media communication. We could perhaps at some point talk about expanding to Instagram or something too, you know, those types of things.
Well, we can connect it. How about we?
Sure, sure.
Right away.
So we'll explore other social media outlets, but starting with Facebook. And so really what we'll do is post something on that existing page just to let folks know, hey, this new page has started. Can you please join and follow us here? Because we have about 300 followers now, I think. And so Julie, I don't know if you know more about when that's gonna kick off or.
So Ned and I talked briefly, and we're gonna set it up very soon, and you know, Earth Days is on Saturday, so I guess we have a deadline.
Yeah, sure.
So, I guess our goal will be Friday, so Corey can send on her, during her day job, send it out to the Polk City Facebook page.
Okay.
Announcement too.
We did announce it at council though too, and the mayor sent an email to all the alders, so we got, I mean, that's something, you know.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Well, hopefully we'll have something then really soon.
Yeah.
Ned and I came up with what, Sustainable Green Bay?
Yeah, I think so.
Real simple.
Yeah.
Sustainable Green Bay.
Awesome names.
So you
I
had some
don't-
suggestions?
Yeah, there were some
I was
suggestions.
trying to be cutesy again.
Okay, well,
Yeah, because we thought about it could have a fun name. I know.
I would love to have
Yeah.
more fun name than Friends of the Sustainable.
Julie mentioned like Sustain Dane for Dane County, you know, or.
But you're not.
I thought it was some.
And we can't do greener Green Bay because, you know, we don't want people to think about harmful algal blooms in the bay, so.
Right.
Well,
Mine was the Sustainability Commission Crusaders. That's not good though.
No, you can,
shoot, I sent something.
You did, but let me see if I can pull them up on my email. My internet doesn't work in a lot of places.
Okay,
I
well,
thought someone. was-
I like Sustainable Green Bay.
it's
That's
straightforward.
simple, yeah,
Cover more,
Right.
good branding opportunity.
Yeah.
Put
yeah.
that on a t-shirt.
Something with gain and sustain. Wasn't there something? like that?
Well, if you come up with a motto or a tagline, like, we
I
can
mean,
always,
yeah.
you can always add a tagline.
So the Sustainable Green Bay and then
let Mark play.
no, that's, I can be, others can do it too. I don't wanna.
Ned, did you have anything I missed or you wanted to add?
That all sounds good to me. Sustainable Green Bay. I like it.
So if any members have like articles or information, we should just like direct message the Facebook group and that'll get posted.
Yeah, I think
Or the Facebook
that's a
page.
great idea
Yeah.
because I really don't use. I mean, I use Facebook, but I don't really post them. I'm very excited about this, so I think we're just gonna post as much
Post
content
stuff.
as possible.
Maria and the Corps could give you some tips. if
Yeah.
needed, 'cause they do a great job.
The one thing maybe
I give you a crash course, the same crash course I went through on how to set up an entire marketing page and branding for an entire program.
Oh, that's a.
So I do all of that for the Corps too, so yeah, let me know.
And actually, one thing I feel like we should be pretty adamant is keeping it extremely positive
Mhm.
and really not tolerating any negative stuff. And since we'll be doing this not as a government we don't have to tolerate negative,
That's right,
negative,
because
negativity.
it's not a city
Yeah.
endorsed
Yeah,
Facebook page.
where we would have to record keep and everything with the city.
And be
websites
archiving everything.
Archiving, yeah,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, and I think we just talked about the various events coming up. You know, Earth Day, well, on Earth Day, there's the Milkweed and Monarchs Workshop at the Botanical Gardens. There's information there, you can contact them. There's Earth Day at the Croc Center over on Lime Kiln.
We'll be there too.
Yeah, there you go. Kickoff of a new pollinator and garden project. Then the Conservation Corps, of course, they have events at Ken Ewers, Canistra, Newberry Conservancy, and the Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary, so.
Also, Bear Creek is having an event before ours, so 8 to noon at Bear Creek Greenway. They're having an Earth Day event.
Okay. 1 to 4, pretty much, right? 1 to 4. and they-
For ours, yep, and then Bear Creek Preservation's doing 8 to noon, so back to back.
Cool. All right. So
We'll also
there's
be there.
things to do, there's things to do. So.
Yeah.
So,
Any questions for the outreach group? All right, well, I look forward to rationalizing the time I spend on social media. Especially if it rains on Saturday.
Let's see what happens when I don't show up, you know, or I'm not available one meeting. Okay, well,
see,
you know what you get done without?
we had a cardboard cutout of you.
That's a question.
Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the meeting. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn
Move to adjourn.
by, give that to Ned. Is there a
Somebody
second?
else? No, okay.
I'll second.
Second by Corey. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All right, adjourned.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy Earth Week.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
After my.
Will you?
I just, Bill Radio.
Oh, really?
Talked to him about, he's taping it today.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. Okay. Recycling.
Recycle. Some years ago, I was on the East River. We were, I don't know if I told you that,
Tuesday.
but friend of mine and I, we were cleaning up the East River.
Nice meeting.
One of us,
Thank you for
we
coming.
pulled
Good luck.
up something out of the East River. It was a washing machine.
Oh,
And somebody yelled at us. They said, "What are you using?" I said, "Fish net." That's fish net. That's why I told you this. Yeah, yeah. It's like, leave it alone. It's fish habitat. I guess.
It's been in there for a while.
Leave it alone. Oh, man, I enjoy your work. Thank you.
Listen, did I
I was
accidentally?
a for night shift in my life.